It didn't rain. It's not an oil well. It's not even a well. It must simply be a leak from a pipe. So I sent word to our maintenance. The wear and tear of the material things in life. Good morning, everybody. Boker Tov. Well, I don't even know if they understand Hebrew. Another beautiful morning. And now the tendency will be that every morning will be very different. Although there was quite a bit of diversity in the last few weeks in terms of the form of the sunrise. There's a wonderful interplay between the two readings this morning. We have that very human tendency to criticize and control others. You know, the DNA for dominion goes back to Genesis, have dominion of the earth, but not of other people. Because people are free. God created us free. To learn to respect another person. One person. And then another person. Little siblings have to learn that, and the parents teach them that. The whole family teaches each other the level of not just respect, but cherishing each other. But the other end of the spectrum is we can judge the other. And the breakthrough that comes into the life of somebody like Saul, who was chasing all the way up there to Damascus, which actually is closer to here than Jerusalem is. It's not that far away. Syria is just across here. So he was off there, he wanted to put people in prison. And the context of the first reading is he's in prison himself. The end of his life. And he would have condemned the tax collector, also the tax collector in Capernaum, a guy called Matty. And then after Matty changes his life completely from being a tax collector to being a disciple of Jesus, Saul would still have condemned him and probably tried to. He'd have been one of the targets Saul was after shortly after Pentecost, trying to crush them. And what's marvelous is the text that he writes from prison, because he himself also has changed like Matthew has changed. And that's fascinating. And the text that he writes is so heartwarming, with the choice of words that also touch us. I, a prisoner, urge you to live in a manner worthy of the call you receive, with all humility and gentleness. Those weren't the words that would better describe Saul when he was chasing down Christians, disciples of the way, the followers of Jesus, a couple of decades earlier. Humility and gentleness and patience, bearing with one another through love. What a transformation. And that's the way he's been living for a long time now, before he gets to prison. It's really amazing. And this should be a message that gives us a lot of hope. Especially when we might be among the people that are pointing out all the Matthews, all the corrupt people, all the abusers, all the misguided people, complaining about this politician and that politician, and complaining about family members that no longer practice the faith, people who do evil things. And Jesus walks up to him and he looks at him with such respect that Matthew feels respected, not condemned. An amazing moment. And then he not only feels respected and not condemned, but he feels invited. He feels invited. And the amazing thing is that all the people who wanted to be in first place, he's the first book of the New Testament. Isn't that amazing? You know, the ways of God are so different to our ways. I got a couple of tickets for you here to ride a jet ski. Are you ready? There was so much action a few minutes ago. Now they've kind of lost the... I wanted to get up close to get them jumping around the water, and they seem to be out of it. They had their thrill. The thrills pass quickly. But to live in a manner with humility and gentleness and patience is a lifetime's work. Maybe instead of a jet ski, you prefer to sit here on these benches with your toes in the water. Oh, I didn't realize that lady was asleep there on the chair, and I walked by talking. Bearing with one another through love, striving to preserve the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. And that works for families as well. It works for workplaces, it works internationally. Bearing with one another through love, striving to preserve the unity of the Spirit through the bond of peace. Obviously the backdrop here is all the grace of the mystery of redemption, but there's nobody excluded. Not even our family, our own workplace, and even more so the peoples among each other. Neighbors, countries. Now we got some action. So the idea is to create waves and cross them. There's a wonderful line here, but grace was given to each of us according to the measure of Christ, and to grow into the full stature of Christ. And this is Paul, and this is Matthew. And so this call goes to each one of us who are following Jesus, and maybe those who are not yet following him. Matthew was a tax collector with the Romans. Not your likely suspect. Condemned by the better people. People, let our hearts grow. To have a little, stretch our hearts. It's a gift. Let's pray for it.